Hey guys, what's going on? Thought I'd put together just a short video because I haven't done one in a little while here. Using my phone, I have an app called Poker Bankroll Tracker, which is kind of cool. Keep track of all your live sessions, whether you want to add a session kind of just offline, or if you want to do live updates, you can do that. Tracks absolutely everything, so I kind of put notes in there and whatever. Got a little creative with the video here. You can see the two webcams, one looking at me and then one staring at the phone. Lost a couple big pots and then an interesting hand, which I'll kind of go into with hand analysis. That's the other thing. You can actually replay hands, calculate odds, stats, and all that with the app as well, which is what I'm going to use. So if you're already reading, but just ran like absolute dog shit in the end of one of the sessions here. I got ace king in pre-flop three-handed because Ty, I think that's his name, unless I'm mistaken. I asked what his name was, but I didn't really hear it clearly, so I'm going with Ty. But he likes to make it 25 pre-flop every single time blind, and apparently that was what everyone was saying. He was doing this like the session before, and he did it for like 3 hours straight and just ran it up like to a big stack. He couldn't miss, and I think that's part of the fun for him. He just likes to bet blind and see how people squirm. So my plan was spoil his fun, and I'm just going to jam anything remotely good because it forces him to either wake up with a real hand or call way behind. So if he wants to put his money in way behind, fantastic. So I basically spoiled his plans. So the very first hand, you can see I got ace king in pre three-handed against queen jack and 8-9 suited. I did not think 8-9 suited was going to come along. He was also quite terrible, just calling every single thing and then just folding. Like, it was just ridiculous. So I just shipped the ace king. I'd shoved on him a couple times sooner, and I guess both of them kind of got tired of it. So they took a stand with queen jack and 8-9 is what I got it in with. I did end up spiking my ace on the turn, but Buddy with the 8-9 of diamonds ends up rivering two pair. So there goes a 1200 pot in the wrong direction, but at least I got it in good. Then let's see here. You can see the next one. So again, still raising to 25 blind. So I make it 80 because I get dealt pocket kings. And now this is where the hand kind of plays into it. There's an older gentleman sitting at the end of the table. I don't know his name. He wears glasses, kind of got curlier hair, smiles a lot, friendly, kind of talking and chatty. Sounds like he plays a fair bit. He seemed pretty straightforward to me. Not too creative or whatnot, but definitely a thinking type player, which is key, which I'll get into in the hand analysis in the next little section here on the phone. But I raised to 80, and I guess he was like kind of tired of it and didn't want to make it a different size. So he just jams. And I think I had him covered by like, I don't know, 20 bucks or something. So he ships it all in, and I snap call with kings, and he has ace king. And he rivers an ace. It was just so gross. And the guy next to him speaks up and says that he folded an ace pre as well. So it was effectively a two-outer for another $1,200 pot, then an $1,100 pot. Like, you know, it adds up quick if you're not winning these ones, but what can you do? Got the money in good both times. And like I say there in the low bottom, we'd be sitting on a $2,300 stack if we hold in those two big pots. Not much really past that. Those are kind of the big ones. Then not really much going on for the next couple hours, and then till the end of the session where I decided to make a move. And the key hand here is it's against the same older guy at the end of the table, thinking he got lucky on me. And my analysis was he's up, he's already grabbed a rack, and he's looking to like cash out, right? He's ready to leave. So it's pretty important, I guess, to note that he's winning and he's ready to leave, because if he was stuck, most people that are stuck are willing to gamble a little more, try and chase their losses, try and, you know, win some chips back. He's more on lockdown mode, and he's up, so he kind of wants to protect his winnings and book a win, right? So that was kind of a big thing for me going into this next hand. So I'll show you what develops here. Hopefully the camera focuses. Give it a second there. So Yeah, I think you guys can see that pretty good. Let me just find the thumb button here. Look at my thumb, my dirty fingernails. I was out digging and landscaping already this morning. So I get dealt pocket tens under the gun, and it's the same three usual suspects here. It's me, Ty, and this guy. He says he has pocket nines. He never showed, but he tanked for like 3 or 4 minutes. So maybe he did, but I'll show you what develops here. So small blind, big blind. I make it 12. Like, it's a 6x open, but I mean, this game was getting a little crazy. It was almost $25 to open every single hand from Ty, so 12 doesn't really... A 6x open is nothing right now. Fold, cut off calls, fold, fold, and of course Ty comes along. So we've got 37 in the middle. Not a bad flop, not the greatest flop. I mean, there's one over, and I'm definitely still going to take a stab at it. So Ty checks, and let's see if I can get it here. I bet 25. Now, our friend at the end here, he calls, and Ty calls. I'm not too worried about Ty. He's not like a lock to ever have a queen. He's just so loose. He was calling like floating ace high, floating like, you know, if he had a 5 here, he's still floating. Every single thing he was just basically calling. Now here's where it's like, you can just see if he did have the 9s here, that's how my night was running. I'm like, so you had a smaller pocket pair, dominated again, and you 2-outed me again? Like, that's how my whole night was running. So I've kind of already realized that my hand is probably not good here anymore. I did get called in 2 spots, so I don't think I can show my 10s down for value at all. And so I kind of get creative, and I turn my 10s. Like, if you have to pick a bluff hand, I like picking hands that have key cards, aka blockers. So I decide to check raise. So Ty checks, I check, and now buddy leads 40 into like 112. So he bets a third of the pot, which I thought was pretty small. I mean, there's a lot of 2-pair combos. There's a lot of, you know, draws still with a 6-7. 6-7, 10 jack, diamonds. There can be, you know, 8-9 gets there. There's a lot of 2-pair. Like, there's more value to be had. I would have been betting on the bigger size, but he elects to go 1/3 of the pot. Ty comes along, and then I decide to go and check raise 4x. I make it 160. And the reason I'm doing that is because 10-10 is now just a really good bluff hand, because the nuts, effectively the nuts on this board, is 10 jack. And it's extremely hard for either of my opponents to have 10 jack if I've got 2 of them in my hand, right? So I make it 160, and I really like it, and I need the board to run out clean. At least I thought it did. I thought I needed the board to run out clean, because I don't think he had a set there. I like this because I can move players off of 2-pair. Queen 9 has a hard time. 8-9 has a hard time. If he has 6-7, I'm never trying to get 6-7 to fold. That's just never the case. I still don't see a set, but it does put, you know, pocket 5s. Pocket 5s might have a hard time now because 6-7 and 10 jack get there. So it's a little bit of a tricky way to play the hand. Maybe it can go south quite a few times just because who check raises the turn is kind of a weird line to take, but I try and mix things up. I thought it would be creative, and I hadn't really played a big pot against this player kind of post-flop turn and river play. It was always just 3-bet fold, check bet fold on the flop, like just really small stuff. So this is kind of the first big pot. And like I said, he's kind of in lockdown mode, and he was ready to leave, and he had his chips in the rack. So I kind of like putting him to a test to see if I can't, you know, get him to get those chips back out of the rack. So he ends up, sorry, I can't see the thing here. He ends up calling. And of course, Ty goes away because he's the weakest of all of us here. And the river comes just an absolute brick, the 2 of clubs, which changes nothing, right? And the stack to pot ratio is pretty nice. So you can see there's 472 in the middle, and I've got 379 to jam. And I love it because I'm still representing that I have either 6-7 or 10 jack. The only thing I don't like is having the 10 of diamonds in my hand. Kind of wish I had like 2 black 10s or 10 of hearts, 10 of clubs, 10 of hearts, 10 of spades, something like that. The less diamonds that we can have in our hand, the more likely your opponent is on a flush draw, right? And having the 10 of diamonds means that our opponent can't have 9-10 or like, I don't know, ace 10. What are some of them? 10-8 of diamonds, right? So all those types of hands are definitely going to call that that turn bet, that turn check raise. And when the river bricks, 10-8 of diamonds doesn't love their hands. You know, 9-10 of diamonds doesn't love their hand anymore because they missed, right? But if I have the 10 of diamonds in my hand, it can't be in his hand. So those weaker hands aren't in the range because I have that 10 of diamonds, and I want them in that range so that I can get them to fold. So I kind of don't like having the 10 of diamonds, but I still am trying to represent the story that I have 10 jack, right? So I do go ahead and ship it all in, and Buddy literally tanks for like 4 hours. And at this point, I've already lost a bundle. He starts thinking about all the hands. He tries to engage in conversation with me too. He's like, and he starts talking to himself. He's like, oh, that's such a big bet. Such a big bet. Did you hear this was going to be like my last orbit? Did you hear that? I said, well, I didn't really hear it, but the fact that you're playing out of the rack kind of tells me you're about to leave anyways. So he's like, well, that must have been factoring it in. That must have been factoring it in. What is it? 379? That's such a big bet. Such a big bet. He's like, why would you bet so much? He's like, then he starts going, is that really just the sickest turn card? He's like, is it really that action a turn card? He's like, is that the one? Like, did it just really bring in the 6-7 or the 10 jack? And then he starts thinking more and more into minute 3 and 4, and he goes, but what to the check raise? It just doesn't make sense. He's like, Miss Diamond starts making more sense. And then he starts going, I'm like, don't go down the Miss Diamonds. Please don't do it. I'm like, you're the one guy where I think you're going to think it through and lay it down. Like, I basically bet this to make a bunch of strong 2-pair hands fold. I'm never trying to get 6-7 to fold. 6-7 pays off, and if your opponent has 10 jack, they have 10 jack. So I'm, like I said, trying to get queen 9 to fold, 8-9 to fold. Clearly 1-pair queen. This puts a ton of pressure on it if he has like king queen. I don't think he ever has ace queen because he never 3-bet pre. So I still love the jam. Then he does the, like, will you show if I fold? And I'm like, I'm a pretty talkative guy. Some people go stoic during big hands. At this point, I was pretty just chatty all the way through. And I was like, dude, you're asking the wrong guy. I'm like, no, I'm not going to show. I'm like, it's 379 if you want to see my hand. If not, I'm folding, like, or I'm mucking it. So I butchered that just now, but I was a little bit more smooth, thankfully, in the banter that was going back at the table there. So he hummed and hawed, got off of the queen 5 of diamonds, and he literally just grinned and says, I think I'm going to lock up a wind, and you know what? I'm going to make a big fold. Going to make a big fold. And he says he laid down 9s. And then I did end up showing the 10s. And I said, I will show you, because I'm like, this is a pretty sick hand to turn into a bluff. So he's like, you got the 10 jack? I'm like, no, but I have the 10-10, and it's the best possible hand to turn into a bluff here, other than like maybe queen 10. Queen 10 is another good one to turn into a bluff. But I think I'd be winning, or like, yeah, or 8-10. Basically any 10 in your hand is a good hand to turn into a bluff. I just recognized that I couldn't show down my 10s, and because I block 10 jack, it's really, really hard for my opponent to have 10 jack. Like, 3 players raised eyebrows and were like, wow. And then he just got up, shook his head, and then I smiled and I said, I'm a little harder to play against when I'm not just taking flips, and by flips I mean way in the lead. So he smiled though, and he was like, I didn't think that was something that you had. He's like, I would never see someone doing that. And I kind of laughed, and I'm like, well, you know, I do try and pull off these bluffs every once in a while against the right players. So yeah, I'll hit the button here. There you go. You can see. And fold. Yeah. So we won that one. Pretty cool hand to turn into a bluff. There are probably a few better. Like, I like the 8-10, 9-10. Those are also probably good hands to turn into a bluff as well. Especially having like an 8. 8-10 would be actually pretty good, because then you block like the queen 8 suited. You block a set of 8s. As you kind of block all the 2-pair combos on the flop if you have like a 10-8. But anyway, I just thought I'd share like one of the more interesting hands, using the concept of blockers. So doesn't always work out, but it did this time. fun hand, but we were still down heaps on the session. But anyway, thought I'd share that one. Hope you liked it. Cheers. All right, let's turn this guy off here.